All right, we're back. Welcome to Tip of the Hershberg. Hope you all had a good New Year. We're starting off with a real get, a catch. Yeah, this is Christopher Shinn, Pulitzer Prize-nominee, Obie Award winner playwright. Our first playwright on the podcast. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah,
buddy.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
You texted me. You're like, I'd love to do your podcast sometime, and I think you had you thought it was maybe harder to get on podcast because I immediately was like, yeah, what are you doing next week?
Yeah, I think I texted you right away after the first episode.
I was like, yeah, I'll get you on immediately.
Yeah. I said, if you ever need someone,
it's like as a doctor when you're available right away. It's like not a good. I went to a gastro the other week because I'm now 80, and it was like every availability.
Oh wow!
And then I got in, and right when I got in, he went, "Thank you so much." Like he said thank you in a way where I was like, this is bad. You know what I mean? Like, thank you so much for like he was too apprecitive.
Yeah.
Of the
no, I don't feel like a doctor should ever be appreciative that you.
No, it's
them.
bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's a bad sign. But we've been friends mostly online. This is like online dating coming to real life.
I realized coming over here that we've only seen each other twice in real life in about 5 years or something.
Yes. But I'm a big fan of your work. I love your plays. I saw there's a great play, Dying City, and I saw the off-Broadway or Broadway, I can't remember, maybe off-Broadway.
Off-Broadway, yeah.
Off-Broadway production a couple years ago.
Yes, it was the revival that I directed.
That you directed?
Yeah.
Yes, and it was Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah.
And she's great. It was a great play. It's a great play, and that was the one that was nominated for the Pulitzer, right?
Yeah, back in 2008.
And it's an ingenious idea for a play. It's a woman and her partner who passed away in the war, and then his identical twin brother comes back, and it's flashback. So it's what do you call it? Two-header play?
I guess technically,
but it's not.
Yeah.
It's like Rear Window. It feels. It's all technically set in there, but it feels much bigger.
Yeah.
It's a very clever two-header where it's like it's identical twins, so it's one actor, but you never think of it as a two-header, but it is essentially just two actors needed. You know what I mean?
You only need two actors, but you get three characters. Theater saves money on an actor.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It was a great play, and I saw it. I don't know if I told you this. I saw it. There's two old ladies in front of me. I mean, there's old ladies everywhere because it was theater, but there's two old ladies in front of me, and it's very obvious that they're twins pretty quickly. That's the concept. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same actor, but it's clearly twins. And 2 hours into the play, the woman up in front of me goes, "They're twins." She just says it out loud, which means she had watched this whole play thinking it was the same guy. And one of them is gay and one of them is not. So she thought this guy was just really all over the place. But it was a great play, and I wanted to have you on to talk a little about, we argue about movies a lot.
Yeah.
But you're too much in the world. See, I have comics on. They talk shit about movies, but you know too many of the people.
Yeah.
So I can't even
I have many fears coming on this show. One of them is that I can't really say what I think about plays and movies.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the industry. And the other is I have the model of your podcast in my mind is comedians just saying whatever they feel like.
Yeah.
And I could get canceled if I do that.
I know.
So
I mean, comedians can get canceled too. We're very reckless.
Yeah, but you have I feel like you have a little more wiggle room than I do.
A little more.
I teach at a university.
Yeah. No, this is bad decision on your part.
Very bad. So I'm trying not to be too repressed, but there's like a little voice in my head saying, be a little repressed.
Well, be repressed. Yeah. I mean, no one's saying this, but be well, I appreciate that you think this can go out. You know what I mean? That's how you know someone respects a podcast, when they go on and they're afraid to say shit, because it means you think I have a lot of viewers. And I appreciate that. You always know when someone doesn't give a shit when they come on and they just know it doesn't have viewers. They just say the N-word. They just do whatever the fuck. They don't care. But I appreciate you think that this could come out. But we'll talk a little. I want to talk about theater versus stand-up, because it's or not verse, but the similarities. Because I start out wanting to be a playwright.
Really?
I fucking wrote plays in high school. That's all I did. That's all I cared about.
Wow.
I only read plays. I was into like Pinter and Mamet and
I had no idea.
Yeah, I was a playwright first.
We've known each other all these years and I didn't know that.
Wow. We knew each other online all these years.
And you're from Louisville, right?
I'm from Louisville,
Were you
Kentucky.
going to Actors Theater of Louisville?
Yeah, all the time, yeah. And I remember one time, and this will be interesting how you think about this. I saw a play, and this curses me to this day because I feel horrible. I saw a Humana play, That Humana was a very big festival in Louisville, and the play was awful.
Yeah.
I hope it's not. What if it turned out to be one of yours? I just bring it up.
I've never, but I was an intern.
Play was awful. It was identical twins, something in Iraq. Play was awful. It was 4 characters. It's a reference to the other play, 4. No, it was, say, you were apprentice?
Well, I did an internship at Actors Theater Louisville in like 1994 or something, and I read plays for the Humana Festival. So I could have chosen this.
So this
play.
is still,
so
now I got to be repressed.
Yeah.
This was a play. It was very much an agenda play, an idea play. It was something about you might have chosen. It was something about someone abandoning their mentally handicapped child or something, or child in a wheelchair and just like throwing them away. It was just very obvious and very preachy.
Yeah.
And I was in the front row, and I didn't notice I was doing this, but apparently I had the shittiest look on my face the entire time. And I want to bring this up because after I went to the restaurant at Actor Theater, and the entire cast approached me.
Oh my God.
And they said, excuse me. The woman, mainly, she was like, I think a little drunk. She was like, excuse me, did you have a problem with the play? Because you were in the front row looking miserable the whole time. And it really distracted us.
Yeah.
And I had no idea it could distract you. I was like, I didn't know I had a shitty look. But I think I was a real asshole back then. I didn't even apologize. I'm just like, I'm sorry, but the play was terrible. It was preachy. It was like...
Oh, you were honest about the play.
Yeah, I was a bad person back then.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was preachy. It was bad. And then we kind of had a dialogue. And fortunately, they're theater. So the thing about theater people is they all just want to have a dialogue. So eventually, if you get to that, they're just like, well, I'm glad we all had it. They just want everyone to come together.
Yeah.
They want every extreme liberal and the very, very small differences to come together.
That's why these theaters love talkbacks. It gives the opportunity for everybody to
have the Q&A, but they all kind of, at the same time, have very similar opinions a lot.
Yeah.
But it's easy to have no one wants to have an open dialogue if you go to the South or something.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting moment. And I don't know if you've ever felt that. I mean, I guess you don't act. Right? Or do you?
No. Like you, the way you wanted to be a playwright when you were younger, I kind of wanted to be an actor and did some acting. But you
should really have said stand up to create some nice symmetry in this. You can lie just for the
artistic.
But what do you feel about in stand up? Ever since then, I feel like I'm cursed because if I see someone even looking slightly bored, I'm like, what the fuck's your problem? Go fuck yourself. What do you hate Jews? I'll just talk. And actors couldn't do that. They're frozen on stage.
Yeah.
So they had to deal with it. In my head at the time, I thought, well, you shouldn't be looking at me anyway.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Someone with a shitty look.
I like to believe that when actors are on stage, they're so fully immersed in what they're doing that they're not noticing things like that. But the truth is, I think, the actors are very attuned to what's going on all around. And they often will pick out a person who, the end of the show, they'll come backstage and somebody was annoying them or snoring or looking at their phone.
Yes.
They are very attuned to that generally.
Because that is the ultimate, the difference of stand-up and comedy, but also the similarity is that stand-up and theater are very much dependent on a live audience.
Yeah. And
yet there is no fourth wall. I mean, to some degree. You can always break out of the fourth wall and say whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like in theater, if a phone goes off and someone just even says anything, the audience goes crazy. You know what I mean? But that's all of stand-up is just callbacks to a phone going off. You know what I mean? But they still both depend on the audience. So I remember I saw Reed Birney in a play. And afterwards I was like, yeah, it was really good. And he said something like, well, why aren't you all fucking laughing? Like he was upset that the audience wasn't laughing.
Well, Reed Birney is an extreme case.
Yes, he is.
He is highly attuned. He is more highly attuned to what people think than any actor alive. I say that with affection.
It's true. And so, I don't know, it is interesting because with a live audience, and it is interesting what you said about that with the cast, because like, in a way you're kind of saying, ideally actors shouldn't be looking at the audience.
That's
what I said to them. I said, the reason I like to play is because you're bad actors. And the fact that you noticed me looking like that proves my point. I didn't say that. But the fact that it is interesting, like, because theater, and so stand-up is typically going for the laughs the whole time. Theater is not going for the laugh the whole time. And yet, laughter is how you kind of score attention in a play, right? I mean, like, you don't really know when people are sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you watch one of your plays, what do you look for in the audience to know it's going well?
I mean, my plays aren't comedies, but I always try to have a bunch of laughs in, because I think you're right. That's the only way you know you're actually connecting in some way. I mean, sometimes there's kind of fake laughter, or, you feel like the audience is pushing and it's not authentic. So you kind of wonder, maybe they're not really paying attention. But
you think the fake laughter suggests?
I think there's a lot of that in the theater. Just like, oh, we're here and we're doing our bit,
Right.
Which is not the kind of laughter I want. I want to feel like, oh, something genuinely got moved.
Right.
The people watching,
Which is tough. Me and we have a mutual friend, McCabe, talk about this in theater, that there is fake laughs in theater.
Yeah.
There are very few fake laughs in comedy, I think. I mean, there are.
I was going to ask you actually that. Do you ever feel like, oh, they're laughing too hard, or this is like...
Yes. It's different, though. So the fake laughs in comedy are the drunken asshole in the audience trying to make it about them. And sometimes they make it about them by laughing so loud, like they're having a good time, and it ruins it. They'll like laugh at a setup and then it ruins the punchline.
Yeah.
I had a clip recently, fucking kind of almost ruined, because I say the setup and this drunken woman is just like, ha, and then I have to like stumble over the punchline. So you get the drunken, rowdy laugh.
Yeah.
It's fake, but in the sense of, I guess it's similar, because I don't know. To me, the fake laugh in theater, and this is where the difference is, I think, is because there's this fourth wall, which is an adjustment. When you start a play, I love plays, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I love plays. I think the first couple of minutes of every play is bad.
Yeah.
I think it takes 2 minutes to get into the reality.
Yes.
Because the first 2 minutes, it's just awkward, because you have two people on stage. They're talking to each other. They're both yelling in each other's ears. They're just like, how's it going today? And the other one's like, I don't know. How are you? And you're like, why are they screaming at each other?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, or it's the play where it opens where it's always the person kind of comes in and does like 4 different things in the room.
Right. The prelude of the activities.
It takes adjustment.
Yeah.
Like Shakespeare, it takes adjustment. But once you get into it, it's amazing. And it's a magical, primitive thing.
Yeah.
That is I think more hypnotic than any movie theater. You know what I mean? And it does, but because of that uncomfortability, I think, I don't want to, you talk more about it, but because of that uncomfortability of the fourth wall, I think sometimes people laugh because they're uncomfortable.
They're all interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It does take a moment to adjust to being in a theater.
Yes.
And, it's, I could see if you're feeling...
Especially if you're a cynical prick like me.
Yeah. An aggrieved playwright who never fulfilled his dream.
A failed playwright, yeah.
I think of it like audiences have defenses. That's just sort of how I think of it. And like my job is like, how do I relax these defenses to let them enter this? And it's hard because, some people, they don't take much. They can kind of enter it after a minute. And other people are just like, I don't want to be here. I don't like this. I'd rather be somewhere else. And so you're dealing with that energy, and, not everybody's the same. So your strategy in writing a play is, how do I try to give multiple points of entry to like get people in here, maybe at different levels and rates and speed of whatever.
That is interesting, because with a movie, you make a movie, most people know movies, but with a play, not everyone's going all the time.
Yeah.
And that's probably when I say it takes adjustment. I don't see plays all the time anymore. So whenever I see a play, there's always a little bit. And the more you see a play, the more you probably don't have to make that adjustment because you're so
you're used to it. But plays, because it's live. I mean, there's something particularly annoying about live performance. Potentially, if you don't hook into it right away, it's a hard thing to like be sort of mixed about it. Like, it tends to be you either enter something and you like it, or you don't enter it, you're like, I want to get out of here, this is boring, kill me, oh my god, when's it's over.
And that's why I think it's always I love theater. I'm not saying this, I love going to plays, but I think it's always bad when they show a clip of a play in a movie or something.
Yeah.
Because it never looks good on camera. You know what I mean?
Never.
I was watching the Roy Cohen documentary, and they show a clip of Nathan Lane and
Angels in America.
Yeah, it seemed like he was just being Nathan Lane as Roy Cohen. It was like a weird. It was a very weird, like, Broadway Roy Cohen, you know what I mean? I fucking, we'll do whatever. I don't know. It's just like very weird, but I'm like, you should never show a clip.
Yeah.
Because the clips, you got to be in the room.
Yes.
I think you got it. There's a contract in the room where you all come in a primitive contract where we all primitively agree to the fourth wall. Just unless they break it, of course.
Yeah.
But it's a primitive contract, a communal contract. So when you show a clip of a play, just like, and I'm not saying something like, obviously if it's like a well-filmed thing, different. But I'm just saying someone's camera of a play, the audience watching is no longer part of that contract. So they're just seeing two people, like I said, yelling very loudly on stage right next to each other.
Yeah.
And they're like, why isn't the other guy being like, can you lower your voice? You're right here.
Yeah. Also, like something like that, I think, like he's miscast in a certain sense. But like in the theater, you might just sort of be swept up in Nathan Lane's charisma.
Yes.
And be like, okay, I buy that he's Roy Cohn. Whereas you're watching it on camera, you're like, this is ridiculous. This person has no sociopathy, no sinister evil. How do I,
Yeah, he's just like big. And exactly. And blocking too, which is, I've acted a couple things on stage. It's tough. Now the comedian, it's all about, there is a cynicism where you're like, the fourth wall is there to break at all times.
Yeah.
And not breaking the fourth wall is a very vulnerable thing. To have to perform with people watching you, but perform in a way where you, in a way, have to connect to the other actor on stage, but block and speak in a way where you need to make sure the audience hears you, is a very tough, uncomfortable thing that is maybe can feel awkward at first for an actor. For me, it was tough to like the placement, even turning to the audience, somehow speak to the audience and the actor on stage. You know what I mean? It's a really tough thing. And I do think the best actors are like theater actors, because that's, I think you can be a good movie actor much easier.
Yeah, you can have 100 chances and then they edit it
exactly
and make it beautiful.
For instance, you could have non-actors be great.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been a non-actor who nailed a play. You know what I mean?
If you can't act and you're in a play, you're in trouble. I mean, there's no way. Nobody can save you. You could be acting opposite the greatest actor in the world. It's It
makes you wonder about that. You ever see movies where you're like, this is a good performance, but maybe it wasn't a good performance and they saved it.
Well, it's the hardest thing when you do a play. I mean, it's always been this way, but it's only gotten worse. Everybody producing the play wants to cast a movie star in it.
Yes.
And often they haven't done a play, but the reputation is that they're a great actor because of whatever movie they've done.
Yes.
But in my sense is that you can't really tell if somebody can act based on a movie. And you're taking a huge gamble. I mean, if they have no real energy, if they're not really listening, like if they're narcissistic people who can't connect to others.
You're saying some actors are narcissistic?
There's a few.
Occasionally?
And, you put them on stage and it's like, oh my God, this is just a giant void sucking up the energy of everybody. It doesn't matter how charismatic, good looking they are. Like you need a certain ability to be present and listen and respond that not every film actor has, because you don't need to have it.
Right. You're not actually, when you're acting in a film, you're sometimes not acting to anyone.
Yeah.
You're maybe acting to the stand-in for the actor you're supposed to, you know what I mean? It's except for, I guess, a wide shot where both people are in the movie.
Yeah.
You can't just be in your own little world.
Yeah.
And with theater, you have to, it's a group effort. It's a collaborative effort.
Yeah.
Did you see the thing from the clip from the production Death of a Salesman recently?
Oh, with Wendell Pierce?
Yeah.
I did watch that. Yeah.
What'd you think about that? Let's explain it first, I guess. So Death of a Salesman, it'd be cool if we could get this clip up, but I don't know.
It might be a copyright.
All right. Death of a Salesman, which is, Wendell Pierce is a great actor.
Yeah.
I don't know if I assume he started in theater.
Yeah, he did do theater.
And, but he obviously it was an interesting thing and a somewhat complicated racial thing, the clip, in my opinion. But basically in the play, I believe a woman was heckling.
Yeah.
And we'll explain.
I only watched 10 seconds of it, but my sense was she was maybe inebriated, maybe having a psychotic break, and she was hectoring him. I mean, she went to the front of the stage and started yelling at him, and he was trying to.
Which is for comics every Friday night at a club. In theater, it's a big deal, but for comics, it's just yeah, of course. But for this, she literally went to the front of the stage in front of basically a theater full of white people.
Yeah.
And she was a black woman, I believe, and she was drunk and she was yelling at him. And it was a pretty amazing thing. Can you play it?
Yeah, it's New York Times or New York Post.
Okay, let's play it. Fonzie, you're fucking up.
Pulitzer.
Waiting too long for this. So if you would like your money back, I will guarantee your money back.
That's the dog's birthday.
He said, I'll watch you on TV.
All right, so that's basically it. It's Wendell Pierce on stage. Still, you can tell how great an actor is just by that. I think he's in character a little, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen this production.
But he's the way he said, I waited too long. It felt like a fucking August. I waited too long for this moment. And then the woman's just like, I watch you on TV, which I assume she's referring. I don't know. I guess she could be referring to a lot of different shows.
Yeah.
But, I assume The Wire.
Well,
but I don't know. I guess it could have been that New Orleans show that no one saw.
Treme?
Yeah.
I never saw that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But have you had experience in a play where someone went that crazy?
Actually, yes. And I've had a few crazy things.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And, because I think if a play, I mean, I don't know what was going on with this person. It may have just been that they're psychotic and,
Yes.
it could have manifested any place in time. But in my experience, if a play is doing something psychologically, like people can start to go a little crazy.
Yes.
So I had a play called Where Do We Live? We did it at the Royal Court. And basically, there were two sides of the stage, two different apartments. One is this black kid who's dealing drugs, and one is a sort of white writer, kind of gentrifier. Takes place in the Lower East Side. You see both apartments throughout the play. And the stage was divided. It was in the round. And the different apartments were on either side. And then there was sort of a hallway zone in the middle. Anyway, this guy just walked onto the stage and began having a psychotic break and was threatening the audience. And the young actor actually picked up a beer bottle because it seemed like he might become violent. And it was like he was going to hit him over the head with it. But thank God security came in. But I brought up the two different apartments because somebody speculated that maybe the sort of split stories, if this person had a split or some kind of schizophrenic, that maybe going back and forth between two stories did something.
Like maybe incited some kind of schizophrenic.
Yeah, like stimulated, like it wasn't integrated.
Wow.
And he started to go crazy. But like, I've had less dramatic versions of that multiple times. One with Dying City, I'll never forget the original production, New York production.
Liev Schreiber, right?
With Pablo
Schreiber, I'm sorry. Also from The Wire, full circle.
So it's towards the end of the play, no spoilers, but basically the woman is understanding that her husband didn't love her, and she's very tense, and she's realizing this, and somebody let out the most giant fart I've ever heard, and it was a thrust stage, so you could really, really hear it. It really reverberated, and it was very poignant, because it really felt like the person was so tense, and like they just needed to release,
during like the most
dramatic moment of the play.
Oh wow! And do you feel like it helped it? Or distracted? Or do you feel like it intensified the emotion?
I think it intensified it.
It intensified
it.
Yeah.
Because there's obviously something absurd about it. So part of you wants to laugh, but you also then imagine maybe this person realized their spouse didn't love them.
Right.
And like they're having some physical reaction to the play. It's so upsetting.
Did you consider having some guy do that each production after that, just to like intensify the emotion?
But you bring that up. This is a real danger, I think, which is that so often when you have these kind of moments in plays, the audience really likes them, because there's something unique and unexpected. And often, I've had friends in plays that are not very good.
Yeah.
And they've known it, but they've noticed that on nights where something a little weird happens, the audience kind of relaxes after that thing happens, and then they like it much more, and everybody seems in a better mood.
Do you think it makes the actors more present in that moment?
I think it makes the actors more present. I think it gives us like a special moment of spontaneity that is delightful. But so then the danger is you sort of look for that. If you're in a show that isn't very good, you're like,
you look for ways to.
Somebody's going to do something tonight. Let us have a moment where we can.
Right. And then I feel like opposite, if you're doing fucking, Long Day's Journey Tonight, you're probably afraid maybe of those things. So the plays are so, but maybe not. Maybe like you said, it intensifies even the most serious plays. I mean, that is the thing about live I mean, in a movie, it can also, I guess, in a movie theater, the idea of an audience in a movie theater, it never feels like a communal experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was hilarious. We saw Babylon the other night, and before Babylon, the actors in it were on the screen doing a little preamble where they're begging people to go to movie theaters, and they're just like, "Thank you so much. This movie was intended to be seen with a loud, energetic, energized audience, and we were the only people in the theater. It was just like 4 of us, and then 2 people like asleep in the back, and it was just such a sad moment. But like, if someone farts in a movie, the actors and Christian Bale isn't like, what the fuck, you know what I mean? So there is no that true primitive playfulness can only come from this, you know, the thing on stage, the live performance, you know. And it is interesting. I've had that, to try to bring it back to stand-up. I've had shows. I remember I was opening for a comedian, Kathleen Madigan, at a place in New York, Town Hall.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I was getting sick of my material. And I was just going through it. That's a big problem with stand-up and theater. You know, it's...
How do you keep it fresh?
How do you keep it fresh? Yeah. And both have, you know, with theater, I think it's... You don't have the option of doing different lines. So you really have to channel those emotions. And I think in stand-up, a lot of stand-ups, sometimes instead of like really trying to make this shit work that you're sick of saying, going back to the emotion, instead they kind of give up and do something else. And I'm like, that might be bad, actually. I think sometimes, you know, don't write something else all the time. Go try to learn how to go back into the emotion the joke began, you know, conveyed. And I remember it was getting rote and I was sick of it. And then suddenly the lights and the whole theater turned up. Someone had punched someone in the audience.
Oh, no.
And they were dragging them out. And it was great. It woke me up. It's like in Sopranos where they try to shoot Tony at the end of the first season. He like kind of breaks through his depression. Like it woke me up, and the rest of the set was great.
Yeah.
Because you need those moments which like that remind you where you are. And then it's so fun to be present in those moments, you know?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't get too dark.
Yeah.
I saw an Arthur Miller play on Broadway once, and somebody died right behind me in their seat.
Oh, that's
during the play.
Is that example of something too dark?
That was too dark. That wasn't
You're
good.
saying that didn't help the play.
That didn't help.
I couldn't tell what you were making. That went beyond that.
That went beyond what you want. Yeah.
They died in the middle of it, huh?
Yeah, horrible. In their
Jesus.
seat, right in their seat.
Did the play keep on going?
You know, we were seated way to the side, and my sense was not enough people really knew what happened, and they did keep the play going.
They did.
I left because I was like, I can't. I literally right behind me, this guy died, and I didn't feel I could just keep sitting there and pretend. You know.
Right.
But it was far enough away from the main area of the theater that I don't think most people knew really what happened.
How do you know he? If you don't mind me
I
asking.
was just really paying attention, and it was just clear. Yeah.
Oh wow, Jesus. Wow. Yeah. Well, yeah. You don't want that, but a fart.
That's all right.
Fart's okay.
Yeah.
You want the spectrum fart to death. Yeah. I mean, what play was it?
I think it was an Arthur Miller play. I think it was All My Sons. It was a while ago.
Sons?
Yeah, revival. I'll have to look it up.
Man.
To be sure.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, theater definitely like, yeah. You're prey to those moments all the time. But I do think, even though theater, and like I said in the beginning, those couple moments on stage take a bit to adjust, I also think it's the most exciting thing to watch.
If it really hooks in, it really is special.
I honestly think if a play is even boring, there's such a meditative feel in the audience, and it is primitive. Like that's the thing. Like that guy who went crazy you were talking about. It does make me think of like ancient Greece and Dionysus.
Yeah,
and the crazy. Like there is something primitive being brought about by people on stage. And stand-up is interesting because stand-up doesn't have that tension. Stand-up is a little different. Stand-up is, there's some tension, but because you can break the fourth wall at any moment, it releases a lot of tension.
Well, how often do you break the fourth wall? I feel like I don't. I mean, I don't know much about stand-up. I see a lot of the clips on Instagram, and I see these supposed comedians. All they post is this crowd work.
Yeah, there is no fourth wall.
And I'm like, well, that's not comedy to me. Like when I watch you, I feel like I'm watching an act.
Right. Well, thank you.
You know, like you are creating a work of art through your being.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But is that when you're not taping things, is it every night that you end up talking to the audience? And
I mean, it's a give and take. I mean, I think sometimes I do talk some to the audience, not like what do you do for a living kind of shit.
Yeah.
I can't even pretend to care about that. You know what I mean? But I do. It's not even always talking to the audience about like maybe commenting on something in the room. I do that. But I do sometimes think like it's interesting because with theater you're locked into a script, and in stand up you always have the choice between being in a script and breaking free, and sometimes it's a bad idea to break free. You know what I mean? Sometimes you know, I was on stage the other day and like I was doing a bit about like politicians, something about like political debates now, how like it used to be elegant and now it's just like someone being like, this candidate fucks kids and I don't fuck kids. That's like the only, you know, the only policies now. Like, and it used to be like, you know, whatever, John Adams being all elegant. And I think as I was doing the setup, I was talking about fucking kids. The guy walked to the bathroom. I just straight up said, like, guy is remembering to fuck a kid. He's going right now or something. There's something stupid. Yeah. But then it kind of hurt the joke, like, because I had to go back into the joke. So, like, sometimes breaking free can be very bad, actually. Like,
perilous.
And then just, like, you don't want to, you want to keep them on track for the whole bit. You know what I mean? And I do think we do, like, we are always so quick to, we want to write more stuff. And I do think it's great to write. But I do, and I've learned this for some comics that have taught me this, that like sometimes in just like theater, the enemy is being wrote, right? The enemy is just no longer losing the emotion behind what you're saying. It's just being wrote and memorized. And we have to fight that. And if you just riff or talk to the audience, you're getting present. But it's kind of a shortcut. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like shrooms making you present. It's a little bit of a shortcut. The real challenge is how do you be present with a bit you've done 100 times? Yeah. And I'm not saying never write new material, but like if you're working on a new hour and you want to get, you know, and sometimes shit does get old. Like with a play, an actor can't be like, I'm sick of this line, let's take it out. You know what I mean? But so we have that option always, which is, I guess, is a difference. But sometimes it is important to just like, not give up on the bit. Yeah. Not try to talk to the audience, but really try to like remember the emotion.
It's like a marriage.
Yeah.
Like how do I keep this fresh? You know, it's the 497th dinner I'm having with my spouse. Yes. You know, but like
that old great Richard Pryor joke where he's like, you're just being married, you're just the same person in your bed every night. Yes. And it's tough. And it's more of a challenge to make that friend. It's so much easier to fuck someone new. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which is like just doing a new bit or talking to the crowd, asking what they're doing for a living. You know what I mean? But then again, sometimes, like you said, that fart, sometimes talking to the audience can get you back and then go into the material. So that is, I think, because I did want to talk to you, like the difference. I think that is maybe the key difference, that the stand-up always has a choice. Yeah. And the actors don't, except for in situations like yelling at the stage. But even then, I feel like he was really doing I feel like that was Willie Loman yelling at her. Yeah.
Well, I guess my question to me would seem really similar is, I imagine you're like riding a wave of energy. Yeah. When you're on stage. You're feeling the energy. I mean, I don't know. So tell me if it sounds wrong or it's not your experience, but like you're perceiving the energy of the crowd and you're navigating it. You're using it. You're building on it. Yes. I mean, I think actors in a play do that too.
Yes, right.
What is different every night is the audience. So maybe you can't have different lines, but some nights they laugh a lot. Some nights they don't laugh at all. Some nights they're young and they seem quite into it. Other nights they're all 80. And so if you can like hook into what their energy is as a collective group, that's the novelty that then you can start to have fun with.
That's the thing that's always different.
That's the thing that's always different.
And that's the thing that you're always playing off of.
Yeah, if you're a good actor.
Yeah, you're right. Because I'd like to think in my head that plays, no matter who's in the audience, they're going to be performing it. But it is, and I guess in a way that's where stand-up and theater are like pretty much the same. They are a primitive way of telling a story where you're feeding off the audience. But yeah, I mean, if an audience does not laugh at all in a play, I assume that's going to take some toll on the actors. Maybe, obviously they can't break free, and maybe they can channel the emotions. But I think it's similar in the sense that when an audience is really laughing, it gets you out of your head. Yeah. So when it gets you out of your head, then you can be completely free on stage. You're not even thinking. Yeah. The laughter is like, the wind to the sail. You're in the moment, in the zone, and because your ego, I think, has been I don't know. It's not that your ego is like boosted. It's that your ego you aren't feeling insecure.
Right.
It's not that you feel cocky necessarily. Maybe you feel cocky.
Maybe you feel liked.
You feel liked. Huh. And once you feel liked, you're not questioning yourself. And then you're just doing whatever on stage. And that's I think where actors, stand-ups, everyone's trying to get to. We're just trying to forget our shitty lives for a second and just escape it. That's why the worst shows for me aren't the shows where I necessarily bomb. The worst shows for me are the ones where I'm looking at myself doing the material. Yeah. And I'm not in the moment. And it's like, well, now I'm having to escape my shitty self. You know what I mean? So yeah, I assume laughter in an audience must like make the actors just completely present.
Yeah, well, you feel you can be vulnerable. Yeah, they like me. They don't think I'm ugly. They don't hate my voice. Yeah, like, they're responding in a positive way. And then I think, it just releases the actor to be unselfconscious.
And even though like a lot of plays are serious, and I know your plays aren't necessarily like comedies, I mean, laughter is in a way the thermometer still, right? Isn't it?
I think so. I mean, there are plenty of plays that just aren't funny, no matter what, but I feel like that's when they don't actually have any psychological truth in them. Right. They're maybe like overly political, ideological, in some way. They're just kind of hammering you with a point or something. But if you have psychological truth, no matter how dark a play is, there's going to be something funny. Because
life is funny. Life doesn't say this moment's serious. Life isn't like those old sitcoms. It used to be sitcoms in the 90s, even the good ones. They'd have the funny parts. Yeah. And then there's always like a serious moment in Friends or something. Yeah. And it's like, life is not like that. You know? Life is like, I don't know, one of my favorite movies, Manchester by the Sea. And life is like, even though I still think too many kids were killed, but life is the part where they bring one of the daughters into have you seen that movie? Yeah. They bring one of the daughters into the ambulance, or maybe it's the wife, and they have trouble lifting the ambulance in the gurney into the ambulance. Stuck. It's almost like a comedy routine. Yeah. It's not a funny moment. But it's like, there's no the universe isn't solemn to your problem. So yeah, I'd say anything without any levity is pretty bad, right? I can't think of many things that are good without levity, except for maybe Godfather 2. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, that's why I think like Beckett is a weird playwright a bit, because supposedly there's humor in his plays, but like I very rarely have genuinely laughed at a Beckett production.
Well, I think what he does, and I do love Beckett, I think what he does is he uses the humor to make you sadder. Yeah. The jokes, it's a different kind of thing. You're definitely not laughing. It's hard to like, you're not it's too clever. But like the humor is like sad. Yeah. There is cleverness to it. Yeah. But it's to make you more upset. You know what I mean? He is one of those people who uses humor painfully.
Painfully, yes.
Though I guess on stage sometimes. I mean, I know they did that Steve Martin, Robin Williams one, which I think missed the point a little. Yeah. Where they try to make it so vaudeville.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've only seen video of that, so I can't judge it really, but it didn't seem...
Do you not like Beckett for that reason?
I mean, I don't think I've seen really good productions of Beckett.
It's hard.
Yeah. I saw Nathan Lane in a Godot.
I saw that same.
That wasn't very good.
No, it was not. It was John.
I've decided Nathan Lane's the one person I'm allowed to criticize. I don't know. I just decided
he's really well cast if he's playing Nathan Lane. Yeah. He can really play himself well. No, he's great. But yeah, it is like they do. Well, Beckett and Chekhov are these two weird. The two great playwrights who the production struggle always. They don't ever know if they're like, should we go really funny? They're always too funny or not funny enough.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That's really true.
Like a lot of Beckett, they're just like, all right, you're trying to be too goofy. Yeah. And then a lot of Chekhov is like either too sad or, it's hard to get that balance.
It's really, really hard. I've seen a couple good Chekhov productions and they were really sad and really funny, but it's exactly what you said. Yeah. Usually they're either too wacky, broad, or they go too dark.
Yeah. But he is funny. I do think he is.
Chekhov's an amazing comic writer.
Yeah, and it is. I think unlike Beckett, it's very real, or it feels very real, which is where funny comes. Funny comes from reality. It comes from Beckett's his own world. It's like this perverted inverse of a vaudeville world that's just like existential and despairing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like a suicidal Chaplin kind of thing. So it's like, it does like, it's different. Chekhov is real. I think when you do real, if you're doing real, I don't know how you can not be funny at times. Yeah. If you're doing real and you're not funny, it means you're not doing real, I think. You know what I mean? Because it's like, there's always moments of levity, which is true for most plays. I'd say even Eugene O'Neill, but Eugene O'Neill's hilarious. I mean, Long Day's Journey to Night has funny moments. I mean, he is an absurd playwright. I mean, Iceman Cometh, I think, is hilarious.
It's an amazing play.
Yeah,
and it can be funny. Yeah, I mean, when people are full of shit, often it's really funny.
Yes.
But that's also what tragedy is.
Yes.
If somebody's deceiving themselves.
Yes.
So like that tragic and comic energy clusters around lack of self-awareness. And like good writers know how to get both.
Right. And the desire for a person to make their life tragic, but it still ends up comedic. You know, that absurdity is such a big part of it. Iceman Cometh, I think, is one of them.
Nathan Lane did that too. Did you see that?
What? The
Iceman Cometh?
Did he do Jesus? He's really just ruining every. Yeah. He's just sticking up every great play. It's amazing that fucking Timon or Pumbaa has just done every fucking. You did Iceman the guy?
Yeah.
Oh Jesus! I saw Denzel Washington.
Oh, nice.
Which was great.
Yeah.
So that's the other problem with theater. Which it is a tough thing where if you have bad seats in a big theater, it just ruins the show. Yeah. That's not true for off-Broadway, I guess.
Right. The theaters are small enough usually. Your seat, even if you're in the back, it's pretty decent.
But I saw Iceman Cometh on Broadway with bad seats, and I thought one of the characters, they were deliberately making him speak gibberish. And then I found out later, my friend saw it up close and was like, no, you can hear him clearly. Like I literally thought it was like a different type of play. It does change. Broadway plays, there are seats where it's like, you shouldn't be selling this seat.
Yeah. I agree. I fully agree.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like to work on Broadway.
Have you done it? I can't remember.
I had an adaptation of Hedda Gabler with Mary Louise Parker. You saw that.
I saw it.
Legendary.
Great. Loved it.
Did you?
I loved it. I had never seen Hedda Gabler. Peter Stormare.
Yeah, he was in it.
And
Michael Cerveris. Paul Sparks. It was an amazing cast. Yeah, we got the worst review in the history of the New York Times. I'm not even kidding.
Really?
Go Google it after we talk. It's the worst review that Ben Brantley ever wrote for the New York Times.
Does he say that in there? This is by the way, if you're wondering, this is the worst review I've ever.
Pretty much, actually. Jesus. I'm not even exaggerating. So, like in my mind, that like looms as this giant flop that was like a laughing stock. But I thought it was really good, and we worked really hard on it, and it was an exciting. It was it had challenges because with Ibsen, anytime you have a really deep writer. Some people go a little crazy in the cast, and there's a kind of tension around. You start to feel psychotic, but so it was a difficult process. But it was a really, I thought
it's kind of funny because he was like he was a horrible review. I was like, I really liked it. I never see that play.
that made my day. I mean, this was like very few people have said that to me.
It's great. I loved it. I remember watching it. It was great. Yeah. Did you? So you translated it or not translated?
So I've worked from a literal translation. Yeah.
And did the review attack you? Or?
Oh yeah.
Oh really?
I think it said I twisted language into a pretzels or something.
How does that work? We don't have much time left, but I do want to get a little. That's the one big difference in stand-up and theater.
Yeah.
Reviews.
Yes.
Stand-up doesn't really get reviews. You know what I mean? I mean, some you get on lists.
Right. Sure.
And
if you're Dave Chappelle, you'll get.
But with theater. Reviews are everything.
Oh yeah.
Like I got a nice profile in the New York Times. It was very nice.
Yeah.
It didn't do much for my career. You know what I mean? I feel like if I was a playwright, I feel like that would have really helped.
Yeah.
No, the kidding was great. But like how does that experience like because if you don't know, in the theater world it's very cruel.
Yes.
Opening night. Is it opening night or the night before?
Well, so here, the way it works in New York, the critics will come for the 5 performances before the opening night.
Yeah.
So the review will come out when you're at the party.
The review comes out when you're at the party with your cast celebrating.
It's great.
And you're just having a great night. And then it's either a good night or a ruined night.
Yeah. I mean, when you don't get texts, So like you're at the party, you look at your phone, you see how many texts you have. If you have no texts, it's a bad review because none of my friends are saying, hey, congrats on the review.
Right.
So it brings down the party.
And you never want to do, I don't know if you've seen Ed Wood, but in Ed Wood, he has the silly idea to read it out loud to the whole cast without knowing what's in it. He's just like, the worst play of all time. Yeah. But so has that do you read the reviews on the opening night?
I do read them. I mean, you just have to think of them as practice for death or something, or suffering, or you just assume something bad's going to happen in your life. That happens to everybody eventually.
Yeah,
you get sick, somebody close to you dies, or that's how I look at these reviews. It's like, okay,
because you've had great ones.
I've had great ones, good ones, mixed ones, and bad ones. And like sometimes, if they're mediocre to bad, the play will never get done again.
That's the difference too. Reviews are like the life force. It doesn't matter with movies, it's not as big of a deal.
Yeah.
And with stand-up, it's certainly not a big deal. But
so if you're at your opening night, you spent a year writing this play and you spent 2 months rehearsing it, and you look at the reviews and immediately this play will never get produced again. It's not a fun opening night. It's really bad.
It's tough. Yeah. Have you gotten better with it? Have you had fun on an opening night with a bad review?
I have gotten better. I've just learned to accept. I mean, it's a very weird thing because I'll look at like Rotten Tomatoes movies and TV shows, and I'm like, every movie gets good reviews.
Yeah.
Like every TV show gets good reviews. Plays, almost no play gets really good reviews. Like I'd say like 20 to 30% of plays at most get like really good reviews.
Interesting.
And I feel like with movies and TV, it's like, oh, this movie has an 87% Rotten Tomatoes, and it's a terrible movie that nobody I know liked it,
Right.
So it just feels like theater is like this perverse thing where for whatever reason, the critics don't want to give good reviews and don't really like most things.
Do you think it's because they're gay and really catty? Do you think that?
I think it could be part of it. It is funny. I've sat next to a few critics.
They are catty. They like the cruel line.
And some of them are weird. If you Google them and like look at their pictures, not saying you can judge people by how they look, but there are some critics you just understand like this person is not, you would not want them to be representative of anything.
Right.
They're clearly like idiosyncratic.
Right. It's just one person. It's always just one person.
It's always just one person.
Do you feel like criticism is valid at any point, or do you just think it's all just arbitrary at this point?
I mean, even my good reviews.
It's valid when it's good? Or?
No, even the good reviews, I'm like, that doesn't really resonate with me. It's not really.
Really?
Yeah, it's very rare where I feel like my last play is called The Narcissist, and
good title.
Basically the main character is a narcissist, but I try to recreate a very complex character, had a lot of positive traits, and a lot of the reviews. The best reviews said it's so ironic that everyone in the play is a narcissist except the main character, and I'm like, that's literally the opposite.
Yeah, it's just a complicated.
That's
character.
the opposite of my play.
Yeah,
but this is like the good review. So
so you gotta be like, all right, I guess that's what the play's about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess criticism is weird. It's like, we just need arbitrary things to feel seen and loved in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, we're all just ants, but you need a bunch of ants just point to one ant and be like, that ant's better. You know what I mean? We just need those. And criticism does. I mean, I like critics. There's certain critics I love. I love Pauline Kael. I love, a lot of Anthony Lane in the New Yorker, but it is just one person.
Yeah.
No matter, to me, criticism is just more of like literature. It's more just like how good of a writer you are. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, let's face it, like if 60% of even watching a movie is how bad of a mood you were in when you sat down.
Yeah.
Like maybe 10% of it is like kind of objective. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. It's like we act like it's like objective on some level.
Yeah. Well, in the theater, we definitely do.
Yeah.
If your play gets bad reviews, that's it. It's not transferring. It's not, nothing's happening with it. And I feel like you can, TV shows, movies can be mixed and still do well.
Can I ask you this though? And maybe this would be one of the last questions, or I guess we'll wait till Ariel comes in. Does criticism on some level, is there a part of you that you hate that is like, well, maybe they're like, does like a positive review make you like a play more, or do you think you've like distanced yourself completely?
Like from my own, like,
yeah. Does a positive review, like a bunch of positive reviews on a play, because that's the problem with it. It's like objectively, like it's just one person.
Yeah.
But we're so insecure. Do you feel like a bunch of positive reviews made you be like, oh, maybe that play is one of my best plays? Or do you think you've been able to distance yourself?
I think a lot of psychological work in the last 25 years of being a playwright has enabled me to completely separate what I think of a play from what the critics say.
Yeah.
I really do. Yeah. And, and I feel such
Takes a lot of bad reviews to get there.
Yeah, sure does. There's a lot of therapy, psychoanalysis.
Yeah. Psychoanalysis.
Oh, yeah.
You do that.
Oh, yeah. I had to do it. 13 years, 5 times a week on the couch.
Wow. I don't even know how you have time to have life to talk about? Are you just talking about other therapy sessions in there?
Basically, that's sort of where you get to. Yeah. But no, it did take a long
But everyone
time.
gets great reviews and bad reviews and middle reviews. You know what I mean? Well, not everyone. Some people just get all bad reviews. But,
yeah, and some people get all good reviews, it seems to me.
That's true.
They're just critics' darlings. People always like them.
I haven't read a bad review of Annie Baker in my life.
Yeah. She's a critic's darling, for sure. So, there are those writers who I feel like, wow, they always like them. Why does Sam Hunter always get all these good reviews?
Right.
What makes him different from me? I mean,
But I think good reviews can also fuck you up because it makes you a little precious. And then you're like, either you think you can do no wrong, which is bad, or you're afraid to get a bad review. So you start listening to the critics.
No, I think that's definitely the case. I think you have to separate yourself psychologically from everything.
You have to,
everything to do with success. Awards, reviews. I mean, that's your job as an artist, is slowly over time. I mean, it's nothing you can do magically unless you're some kind of spiritual genius or something. But for somebody like me, it was just like a day-by-day process of slowly like separating myself from what people thought of my work. And it took a long time.
But does it mean when you get a good review, does it mean, but still, and I'm not trying to be like contrarian, but still on some level, does a good review still make you feel good? But it's different than feeling, there's a difference between feeling good and letting it define the worth of the play,
It's
right?
just, no, it's purely pragmatic. I can say that honestly.
It doesn't make you feel any better or worse.
It makes me feel good that, the play will get done more and I'll make money.
But the worth of it is arbitrary.
The worth of it completely separate.
That's great.
Yeah. It took a long time. If you had interviewed me 10 years ago, it would have been,
Sorry. That takes a lot of, that's great. Isn't that enlightenment for an artist?
For a playwright, yeah. At least.
I mean, you can.
Other areas of my life still very, fucked up. But
you can free yourself from. Yeah, you can free yourself from, you can just focus on the self-expression, right? That's the goal, right?
It's exactly as you said. It's like truly internalizing the reality that this is one person or a handful of people.
Yeah.
And that's it.
There's just one person who has a job, and sometimes they're great writers. I do think that. I do think some critics are amazing writers, and I do think that's really where the talent comes. You know what I mean? I don't agree with Pauline Kael's review of Goodfellas, but I like how well written it is. You know what I mean? But like to me, they're just writers. You know what I mean? And but yeah, the worth itself that's just like, did they eat a sandwich earlier? You know what I mean? All that shit. That affects everyone. Well, thank you so much. This has been a fascinating episode. Great. Yeah, I should not have so many fucking comics on, right? Fonzie was getting bored. This was interesting, right? Something new. Yeah. I hope the comic waiting outside didn't hear that. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. And usually we do plugs.
Yeah, I don't really have a plug. My play closed in England over the summer, but you can buy it. It's on Amazon. It's called The Narcissist.
Yeah, I got to read it. I hear it's great. Man.
Yeah, I think it's all right.
Cabe loves it. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Is this the political? This is a.
Yeah, it takes place 2017, sort of about, post-Trump moment, and a Democratic senator trying to get somebody back into politics who retired after 2016 because he wasn't listened to. He was warning that Trump was going to win. So basically it's like kind of a dark comedy.
But he's a narcissist?
He's a narcissist also. But that's
I love it.
Partly why he understands politics.
I love it. Yeah. The narcissist, no ideology, even the correct ideology, can still be a narcissist, whatever it takes. It transcends. That's the one thing that transcends beliefs.
Transcends politics.
Well, check out Narcissist, read it. You can order it online. Yeah. And thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you for having me.
This was
awesome.
a real pleasure. Thank you so much. Whatever. We'll fucking do it later. Have a great night.